You don't lose control with Patrick Bet-David because you said the wrong thing. You lose control because you assumed he was improvisational. He is not. Patrick Bet-David's mind works as a sequencing system masked with a public interface that looks like flexibility. The moment you mistakenly introduce uncertainty into that closed architecture, you get silently, agreeably eliminated. Every conversation with this profile is already pre-mapped from his point of view. You are either inside the sequence, or you are a variable to be removed. We'll classify Bet-David's decision-making structure first, and move into failing and succeeding strategies immediately after, the morphological hardware first. Bet-David's appearance is robust. A classic morphologist might even classify this as a high dominance ratio. Don't take this as a personality description, but rather as mechanical architecture, dictating a confrontation baseline, an aggression bias, and a risk tolerance that operates far outside the normal distribution. The mid-face zone dominance signals one specific motivational driver, relational leverage. He reads the social environment constantly, not for connection, but for utility extraction. In contrast, the deep-set eyes correlate with one who is calculating, suspicious, and running a continuous diagnostic on everyone in the room. This is not a man who warms up slowly. He is already multiple assessments ahead of you before you finish your first sentence. The public reads Bet-David as a high-energy entrepreneur, charismatic, adaptable, built for improvisation. That read is incomplete and dangerous if you're trying to interact with him. The internal architecture is a controlled sequencing engine. He programs his life in 20-year constraint lattices. He maps 15 moves forward before he permits a single step. His lateralization confirms it. The right side projects an expansive, socially dominant operator. The left side, narrower, more retracted, visibly guarded, reveals the true baseline. A calculating mind running hot beneath a carefully maintained social surface. Now cross-reference against the behavioral record. You'll find nearly zero contradiction. That is rare. Recently, we've reviewed contradictions of the morphology versus documented behavior in individuals like Ray Dalio or Jensen Huang, who exhibited different behavior than what appears in the facial read, but Bet-David's behavioral record simply confirms it. When 4 simultaneous crises hit him at 24, he did not gather new options. He triaged, he discarded a relationship, he delayed family obligations, he salvaged the client account. His innermost bedrock, as counterintuitive as it initially seems, is rigidity. He then built a 45,000 agent insurance empire not through charisma alone, but by constructing disciplined training architectures and forcing the organization to operate inside them. His media network exists for one reason: to package his organized information and deliver it outward at scale. When AIG executives flew in to terminate his contract over suspected ethnic discrimination, he preemptively bulldozed them before they could open their mouths. Bet-David established the frame before the threat could land. That is the behavioral record confirming the face and the face confirming the behavior. Here is where most operators detonate, and they never understand why. The standard move is to build in real time, iterate in the room, propose and adapt. This is how most professional environments reward performance: collaborative, flexible, agile. With this architecture, every one of those signals registers as chaos injection. You brainstorm live. He interprets incompetence. You explore options. He experiences loss of control over a sequence he already mapped without you. You treat him like a dynamic thinker, and he responds with dominance, reassertion, or shutdown. Not because your idea was wrong, but because your delivery implied the outcome was undefined. There are 2 other patterns that consistently fail. First, appealing to team morale or collective benefit. This is good for the group. The team really believes in this direction. His processing strips emotional justification automatically. Banks do not care about character, only credit scores. He operates on the same logic. Present a moral argument without a return metric, and you have self-identified as someone who substitutes sentiment for execution. Second, softening negative data. Any padding language around a failure or delay triggers his choleric aggression reflex immediately. The architecture requires absolute reality delivered without cushioning. Hedging is not perceived as diplomacy to Patrick Bet-David, but rather as deception. What you are watching in Bet-David is a specific behavioral pattern, one of 4 foundational architectures that governs how people process information and make decisions under pressure. If you want the complete baseline framework, get the free Strata Intel PDF brief, 4 archetypes, immediate delivery to your inbox. The link is in the description. Here are 3 asymmetric plays for navigating a Bet-David in your life. First, open by establishing the sequence before he can. State the timeline, the agenda, and the end state before the interaction begins. This declaration artificially lowers his cognitive load by proving the outcome is already mapped. His primary structural fear is undefined variables. Eliminate them before he identifies them. Second, lead with a hard metric in the first 60 seconds. It can't be contextual or background, it has to be hard data, the credit score of your proposal, so to speak. What it produces, what it eliminates, what it costs. If you cannot deliver a clean number in the opening minute, you are already behind his filtration threshold. Third, if he applies pressure, absorb it flat. Do not explain or reframe. Acknowledge the data point. State the corrective variable. Move forward. His pressure is not actual aggression, but rather a stress test or a shit test to see what you are made of. Most operators fail it not because they are wrong, but because their response reveals emotional investment in being right. Flat absorption signals something he rarely encounters, an operator whose identity is not attached to the outcome. That categorization is extraordinarily difficult to earn, and nearly impossible to lose once established. I must warn you that running the sequence on a different operator, a Gordon Ramsay, a Steve Jobs, will produce mixed results at best and the opposite of the intended result at worst. What disarms Bet-David will alienate a profile that operates on entirely different structural logic. The wrong playbook does not produce neutral results. It produces active resistance, and you will not always be able to identify why. If there is someone in your environment where the interaction outcome matters, a high-value prospect, a dominant superior, an investor, a partner, the Strata protocol extracts their exact behavioral fingerprint, morphological structure, behavioral history, pressure responses, delivered as a tactical dossier within 48 hours. Link is in the description, stratintel.io. You must know the architecture before you walk into the room.